Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Cynthia, and I wanted to come on and keep doing my work here, keep doing my channel and my card readings, even if I was feeling a little bit downhearted. I decided to do this because it's what your new kind of purpose is, and what a big focus and how rewarding it is for you. So I decided to just do some energy clearing and prayer and help myself get a little bit more boosted again to come on and do this reading. And part of the reason that it's been a challenge is because, like a lot of us, I'm not alone. Narcissism is a huge topic in the ether right now, on YouTube, in the culture, everywhere. Thank God, because it's a serious challenge in relationships, at work, in families, in marriages, between parents and children. It's just a really difficult, malignant impact socially at times. Somebody in an unchecked narcissistic mindset can really do a lot of damage. And part of why I feel, as a therapist, I've always kind of known that, but I've also, my family has so much trauma in it that in some ways I feel like I'm learning about myself that as a backlash to all of that sadness and sorrow and dark behavior at times in my own family, I put on some rose-colored glasses to cope and be like, the world's not really like that, and the world is beautiful, and I'm going to focus on the positive, and that's great, and I'm glad I've trained myself to be able to do that. It's work, though, sometimes, if you come from a traumatized family system. And one thing that's been helping me lately is Spirit's been really helping me recognize the rose-colored glasses and not to be blind to those who want to cause you harm, because you don't want to think poorly of them, or because as someone with a lot of empathy, you may understand why they have some of those characteristics and you have compassion for them. And so that's very much been true in my life. And as I've continued to commit to my own growth and my own healing and my own protection and my own boundaries, my circle has gotten smaller and smaller. And that's a difficult journey. Not everyone wants to get on that road, right? Or be on that journey, because it can be lonely. And in fact, part of what the theme of this reading today is going to be the domino effect. And it doesn't have to be a domino effect like mine, but a domino effect in your life. The domino effect for me started when I was going to get on a more spiritual path like this, and like card reading and esotericism and whatnot, and focus more on that in my life than just the Western method that I had been trained in and worked in terms of mental health clinics. And at some point I was well on my way. I was really deeply in that work. I was really resonating with it. I was feeling very uplifted by it. And I came to a crossroads, and I see now that it was a choice point, that I not took a wrong turn, because I believe that it wasn't a mistake. It taught me a lot, but I slowed myself down. And I very consciously remember thinking, because it was so precious to me what was starting to happen, but a lot of people around me didn't really know how to go on that journey with me, other than a couple supportive friends in the background, who were like cheering me on. But in my intimate life, not a lot of people knew how to join me on that, or even to understand what I was going through. And I started to experience that sense of like distance and isolation, and my circle being threatened to get smaller. And I very specifically told God, I don't want to do this. I don't want to lose people. I don't want to feel taken away from my community or the people that I love or my family or whatever. I feel like if I choose this path of spirituality, it might take me into some sort of monasticism, right? Or something where I'm no longer connected to people around me. And for me at that time, that felt wrong. It felt too grandiose, or something I didn't like. Who do you think you are to be this deeply spiritual person? Keep your feet on the ground, watch football, do, things that are like very 3D American culture, right? And I chose that path at that time. It was I see now that it was a major crossroads in my life, and it was about 11 years now or so ago. And the choice to do that, while I've learned a lot, I also really slowed my own spiritual growth, and I went through a lot of hard lessons that maybe I wouldn't have had to if I had trusted myself more and trusted my God more, trusted God to guide me. I didn't have really a very deep relationship with God. The way that my route to God was through nature and through actually a practice of energy medicine called Reiki. And so that's where I was never against God. I've always been an agnostic person, or an agnostic, open-minded mindset to spirituality and metaphysics. But at that time, when I could sense that it was maybe taking me away from people, or people wouldn't quite relate, I don't want to be separated from people. And I think that's because I had a lot of loss in my early childhood. And I chose to stay more in the 3D kind of, right? It created a real domino effect in my life, and some of the final outcomes of it, because that cycle is closing with a lot of finality. Part of the domino effect it had for me was really shining a light on who is truly supportive of me and who may be around me that love certain things about me, but also secretly are envious or don't, because I've had some things that are worthy to be, that people might say, gosh, that's really fortunate. My father did very well financially. And so even though we had a lot of real heavy trauma and abuse stuff in our lives, that was the one area where I knew I was okay. I was always going to have food. I was always going to have money, right? That's a real sense of security that when you've gone without it, you know how powerful that is to have that kind of safety. And so I've always known that, but because of that, a lot of people around me have been envious, and I think it's partly because they weren't necessarily recognizing all of the other areas in which I had had losses that they didn't have losses, right? That had family, that had children, that had a mother. I didn't have a mother, right? That had an intact family unit. My dad was gone, not 50% of the time, but close. I would say more like 30 or 40% of the time. And I was alone in our big house with a babysitter often. So for a child, I'm not an only child. I have several half siblings, but for a child alone in that big house, those are costs that aren't measured in money. And I think a lot of times when I had people around me that had secret, like, covetous energy towards me, or jealousy or bitterness or anger, or would perceive me as ungrateful for having that kind of security, it's like, well, the more that time has gone on, the more it's shown me this last 10 or 12 years of choosing that other path. Is this really what you want? Because look at all these folks around you that really aren't pulling for you. And I'm not saying that as a judgment, because I run jealous. I've been jealous. I've seen what other people have and been covetous. I'm a human being too, right? I have those things. But maybe the difference is between me and some of those folks is that I've recognized it within myself with honesty and courage, and worked hard to unburden myself of those types of beliefs. That's always a journey for people. I'm not saying I've graduated and I'm done and I'm now some kind of Zen master or saint. I still have to work at it. But that domino effect has been crazy, because it's pretty much eliminated relationships from my life that I once really trusted, deeply trusted, that I've really had to grieve, but I've now seen mask off, right? They really, not only did they harbor some bitterness towards me, but they've been actually actively trying to trick and manipulate me, trying to take what's mine, trying to undermine me in the eyes of other people. I have siblings that do that smile and love and say hi and support me and want to know what's going on in my life, but it's all for their gain. It's not because they genuinely want to uplift me. It's because they want to then go and be in their little circle and gossip about me. Oh, Cynthia, she's crazy. What does she think she's doing? She had this great career and now she's going to be a card reader? Oh my God, laughing, right? Like, this mocking me, being underestimated. I know there are other people out there. This is where my rose-colored glasses have had to come off. And I've had to really realize, like, you don't want to let that get you down. You don't want to let that destroy your perspective on living and on life and on the things that are beautiful about living. But it's been a very hard journey, and it's been pummeling at times and brutal. And especially when someone is so close to you, close, that you then all of a sudden the veil is lifted and you see, like, this person's been stabbing me in the back, right? Those are painful lessons. They're lessons I chose because I chose a different route. Had I chosen the more spiritual route at the time I first was being elevated to it through my own work and through my guidance from my God, I chose to turn away from it. And these are the lessons that I've learned as a result. So I'm grateful for the lessons. I'm grateful that I now see more and more clearly every day who's worked against me, from black magic to just gossip and narcissistic behavior, malignant narcissistic behavior, right? Behavior where I can just say I've trusted a sibling with a lot of really intimate details about my sorrows and my pains and my joys and my sadnesses, because at one time we were just really like this, really, really, really close. But they trusted another sibling who really had a lot of envy and bitterness and craved negative information about me because it fed something in them. So then in vulnerability moments of one sibling would go and tell the other sibling, then sure enough, that sibling who has that kind of narcissistic pattern would then use those things that I shared with someone else against me in a moment of vulnerability to kind of kick me down when I was down, right? And so there's just little things like that. Like I've never been one to say no more contact period with anyone in my family. I'm not like that. Like I'll always sort of maintain a certain level of contact to some degree. But I've learned and had tight boundaries for a long time, and I had tight boundaries with that person that they also simmered and resented about, like, why do you have tight boundaries with me but not this other sibling, right? So just lots of triangulation, stuff like that. Those hard lessons have created this domino effect where in the last month I've gone through a lot of trauma, honestly, a lot of fear, a lot of I said in another reading, but of knowledge and an understanding that even right near me physically are people that are actively trying to harm me, right? And I think it's these people that I've suspected that live near me who are abusing nature, right? Like, and I started speaking up to that and calling that out, and they don't like it. And because they live near me and I live in the country, they're doing things to kind of retaliate, which happens, right? Neighbors get mad at other neighbors and start working against the neighbor because they're pissed and they want to retaliate. And you see that all the time. There was some funny story about somebody's neighbor complaining about how they're spending their time in their own backyard. So the neighbor planted all these fast growing trees to completely block out the sun and the rival neighbors, things like that. That's kind of what I'm getting at. But it's been scary at times. Am I actually being physically and bodily threatened? I'm not really sure, right? But that's the kind of domino effect I'm talking about. And it's been hard, being purified by fire and pain. But that's the path I chose because I very specifically at that crossroads time in my life chose, I'm going to turn away from this higher spiritual path because it's taking me away from my community, and I don't want that. I don't want to be isolated from my community. Well, guess what? Now that I have allowed myself to get back on that path and to pursue my own inward spiritual journey, whether that's to lead a life of monasticism or whatever, now, sure enough, here come the people that I am in alignment with. So now I do trust my God more. I trust spirit. I trust life. I don't feel like I have to grind and push so hard to make things happen. So that's been the domino effect in my life. And now I'm curious and wanted to read on the domino effect potentially in your life. How is the domino effect playing out for you? What has it revealed to you? What has the domino effect, how has it impacted things for you? How have the dominoes fell in your life? And it's funny, I was even trying to think before this upload, I looked up a little domino emoji because I was hoping there would be a domino emoji I could put in the title, but there isn't one. So hopefully someone will make one. Maybe there is one that I can download, but I don't know. I'll use the dice instead because it's got a similar kind of feeling. Or the die, I think it is, singular. So for this domino effect in your life and what it looks like and what are the messages that you can carry away from the dominoes falling in a chain reaction. I'm going to start with some animal guides to set the tone for the layout for you. And then we'll pull cards, or pull other cards, tarot and whatnot. So what are some animal spirits that can kind of set the tone for us for this reading? And I'm really thanking the spiritual people in my life for being in my life in such a profound way. I have this new friendship I'm making with somebody I really respect and adore. I was active with her in near where I live for justice issues, especially around George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. But there was also an ICE contract in our community that we worked together really effectively to force the county to end. And we're very like-minded, and I highly respect and adore her. And in my past, maybe we would have not intersected because she's a minister. And I wasn't someone necessarily that grew up in the church. I had some exposure and some positive experiences with church, but mostly I didn't run in a circle of people who were practicing Christians. I was a little bit more in the pagan route, nature worship, nature, communing with God through nature, which I don't think that's a pathway to God too. St. Francis of Assisi is a great example of that. So I don't think my path was wrong. It was just different. And I wouldn't have necessarily run in circles with Christian people, especially a Christian minister. But that's one of the ways the domino effect has opened in my life, is that we have a real kinship. And we're looking forward to doing more projects together. And we have a real mutual regard and respect that's true, that's not fake, that's not based in status and what can you do for me, and well, how can you make me look, and being connected to you elevates my ego. And it's not any of that. It's not bitterness, it's not competitive, it's not anything. And I think in some ways so many of my relationships were like that because that was a part of my family culture. So then we replicate that, right, in relationships until we decide whether we want to grow out of and elevate and heal and evolve. So it's been a difficult journey, but I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to see as well where it takes me in terms of other relationships. I'm so grateful for her in my life, and for my aunt and uncle, who are very deeply religious Christian people. As a child, I was a little bit overwhelmed because my dad had more of a sense of freedom, and they were a little bit more careful and disciplined in their home because of their faith. And as a child, it was hard for me to grasp that that is protective and instructive and helpful. Now, I wouldn't trade for the world their impact in my life and their influence. And I'm so grateful to have reunited with them. Even though I'm not necessarily a church on Sunday and Wednesday and biblical person, I do read the Bible. Growing up, I read Job and Ruth over and over because they were the two books that I could read in one sitting, even though they had lessons that were hard for me to grasp, right? So this was a flyer that came out to set the tone, and it's Raven, which I love. Raven I even have a raven feather. Ravens are really powerful shamanic birds that, what's going on here? Dolphin. And then I'm going to pull one more because those are dolphin is, I think of the word Delphine, and somebody mentioned Saint Delphina in another reading, a card reader that I watch, and I was intrigued and read about Saint Delphina, and the word and name Delphine comes from dolphin, right? The light, uplifted, connected to God kind of animal energy that dolphin can represent. And growing up, I was obsessed with dolphins. I had dolphin decor in my room. I had a dolphin mobile. For so much of my life, dolphins were my favorite animal. Later in my life is when I developed a relationship with Raven. They're spiritual teachers and shamans. And I'm going to pull one more card here, and then we'll pull the rest of the layout. Thank these animal spirits for being here. Raven can teach you discernment, right? Dolphin can teach you joy and community. Bear, that's it right there. And there's a guy whose channel I watch, I think it's pronounced Craigenford. He does a lot of like Proto-Indo-European ancient mythology and the origins of Indo-European language and myth and culture. And he has a really good upload about bear cults. So it's cool that Bear showed up here. Gosh, I just had my glasses. Where did I set? Oh, right there. I shouldn't have gotten these dark black frames because they blend in with everything and I can never find them. So I'll just read these two here. Dolphin, playfulness, enjoyment, celebration, altruism, harmony, joy, togetherness, care, love, and compassion. Not a negative trait listed, right? Bear, integrity, compassion, clarity, self-reflection, contemplation, single-mindedness, self-discipline, prosperity, and enterprise. And then Raven, magnetism, introspection, self-realization, self-belief, courage, changeability, aloofness, right? That discernment, ability to spellbind and bewitch. So using the power of your shadow, if you can transmute that, Raven is a powerful spirit to have within you, right? What else? What other cards can we pull here before we pull the tarot layout? What else has, so those energies may be in play for you, right? In the domino effect in your own life. Learning how to feel joy again. Learning how to, compassion is a big one between these two. Learning discipline and skill. Prosperity as well, because it's one thing that I grew up just having this inherent understanding about. Whether it's just the privilege of having grown up with having a stable household financially, it's almost like I've always known you're never going to have to want for money. You're never going to have to go in lack. I don't know how or why I've known that. I've just known that. And I've since come to believe that abundance in the material world is a birthright for me. And I think it's in part because I had so many other sorrows and prices to pay in this life. Maybe, I don't know if they were karmic debts or what, but my mother dying when I was an infant, my brother and nephew overdosing within 72 hours of one another, my siblings growing up in an incredibly abusive and narcissistic home where they were just mentally brutalized by that culture of their home life, right? There's a lot of trauma. My aunt on my father's side went through really egregious violations of abuse from power players in her life. A psychiatrist and a priest both really abused her at times when she was vulnerable and seeking help and comfort and care, and the shielding of prayer and protection over her, right? She then was violated. So those are things that I also carry that maybe the friends that envy me haven't had to live through, right? But hey, everybody's got their journey. But now I feel like because I've been willing to go into those dark nights of the soul, my new community of people who have gone on those kinds of journeys are coming into alignment with me. It's been intense though to feel like, man, this almost wiped out all of my relationships in some ways. It's humbling. It's not for everyone, right? And my free will took me away from that path for a while so I could learn some more hard lessons, which is just fine. My soul has grown from it, you know. I'm grateful for the hard lessons and the people who agreed to play that role in this life for me. To maybe show up like a devil in my life so I could learn how to transmute that, right? Or how to overcome it, or how to protect myself and set boundaries. Contemplation, just like this bear and raven. Love, like the dolphin, perfect. So these domino effects are similar in your life. They've brought you to a new place of love and understanding about what love and joy really is through this willingness to do this period of introspection and contemplation, and being willing to tune back into your discernment instead of look at people through a rose-colored lens of who you want them to be, right? So now let's pull some cards here. What's going on in your present day as these dominoes have continued to fall? What's the current climate for you? What's important for you to understand? Are there any pitfalls or dangers involved right now for you that you need to watch out for? Or what's going to be helpful for you to know about the domino effect in your life? Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Wow, so powerful already. this little table here. Gotta make room for these cards. So to me, this looks like it might have to do with a romantic relationship, or just how and in what ways you have understood love, and what does love really mean. We'll see, we'll get into it. But love is a theme here, as well as clarity. So the cornerstone is that you've had to work through rearranging your relationship to your own heart. The Four of Cups is a card of not being able to see the beauty, right? It may be having a guarded perspective or a suspicious perspective in the way you approach the world. Like everyone's out to get you. Everybody's got an agenda. There's nothing really I have to be grateful for. I'm down and out and I'm broke all the time. And I'm mad when I see other people that have things handed to them. It's that kind of perspective. We all have this within us. I'm not judging it. I've been there and go there sometimes when I'm really struggling. Like, where is my reward? I've been in this dark night of the soul for going on 10 years now, off and on. Like, when is it going to end, right? So it's easy to go there and when you're discouraged or when you're vulnerable. But it's not the greatest take on life to have a Four of Cups energy be your cornerstone energy. So what I'm sensing is that this domino effect has helped you identify and recognize this tendency in yourself or in those around you, that they may be people who operate in this way, like looking for a come up. You know, no one could really be that sincere. I'm a sincere person. I will say that. I've always tried to show up just exactly how I am. I try not to fake it. I try not to be fake or an imitator or whatever. But one thing I've realized is not everybody feels confident enough to show up as themselves, either from their own upbringing or whatever, so then they operate in this kind of energy in life. Guarded, suspicious, feeling like, who's trying to get over on me? You really can't trust anyone, and the world's a dark place. Like, it's easy to go there, but you've had this challenged to some extent. Because at the center of this, the domino effect has been a judgment day about what unconditional love really means to you. It's been a powerful judgment day for you, like it has been for me. I'm tuned in now more to what I feel unconditional love really looks like, and where I think I have received it in my own life. And it's been like a judgment day because, like I introduced the reading with, it's cleared out a lot of relationships that I've recognized really are not for me, and we're not going to be on a path together anymore. Our paths have diverged. We're not in the same lane anymore. We're in a different place. It's not that I'm better. I've just chosen a different path. I've chosen a more spiritual path at this point, and not everybody's okay with that, or maybe I'm not okay with where someone else is, and that's okay. I can move on and set a boundary, right? It doesn't mean I'm bad. It means I've put myself first. And it's been a judgment day for you as well. You've shed some skin. You can see that the snake has transmuted the old version of himself or herself, and he's now rising into the new sort of heavenly bodies of his new experience, right? He's coming out of the old skin into a different understanding of what unconditional love means, like the love that God has for us, the love that Mary had for Jesus, right? The love that Mary has for us. Mary's another gateway for me into Christianity when I wasn't very open to the Christian religion for whatever reason, because there's been a lot of harms carried out in the name of religion. Mary was a link for me to feel comfortable because she was a mother that I didn't have. And so I tried to pray to her a few times when I was in my young days of going through dark nights of the soul. I thought, well, Mary will understand. Mary can hold this like a mother could hold my pain. My mother's not here to do that for me, right? It's that kind of love that you have learned is what's real. There's a magician card here, and we'll get clarity on this if we need to, but for some reason I'm feeling like the magician card might be in this Four of Cups energy a little bit. Either the people around you may seem powerful but still kind of in that blocked energy, or it may be that you are now creating the newness for yourself out of these hard but beautiful realizations that you've made. It's a domino effect that's creating kind of some type of magical quality in your life, and that's a fact. And we'll pull cards if we need to. Your vulnerability is that this has been a very hard journey. There's a card reader I watch on here that says like walking the burning sands, or like going through a phoenix experience. It's been difficult. You've cried out many times. You've been forced to your knees many times. This bird is crying out from the nest. Either, where are my parents? Where is God, right? Like, that's been the vulnerability, is that feeling of betrayal, even possibly, of realizing I thought this person loved me, and now I've learned the hard truth. The glasses have come off, the mask has come off. I'm crying out in pain and sadness from some of these hard truths, right? The reward, though, and what's you're seeing, and what this reading can do to confirm this for you, you're seeing with crystal clear vision. This is the clearest kind of insight. This could be considered like the sword of Archangel Michael, or the sword of truth. This is clear vision, clear guidance in your own mind from your own psychological work that you've done if you're not a very spiritual person, or it's through prayer and through being willing to walk through the dark night. The reward and the center of this reading is the clarity that you have. That joy is not going to be found for you in these sort of base relationships or competitive relationships or come up, one up, lack-based relationships, right? You've recognized that that's not where your joy or your wisdom is going to come from. It's going to come from seeking a truer, higher version of love, and doing that through contemplation, like through either monasticism or meditation or whatever. One thing I'm noticing right now, because I'm in perimenopause, is that I'm sweating like crazy. So you might be having hot flashes. You might be having, sometimes Reiki will do this as well. Like when Reiki energy is really flowing, it can make you break out in a sweat. There's heat involved with this energy for some reason. You might be in a hot climate. You might be somebody who feels restored in the sun. That's very much me. One of my most blissful memories is laying by a wild flowing river in Sequoia Kings Canyon National Park on a really hot sunny day, like a 90-degree day. I remember I've never felt so blissful in my life, just soaking up that sun by that clear running water, hearing nice, happy, joyful sounds of other people in the background. Like, I remember feeling like I was drugged. It was so good. It was such a good feeling. And it was just the beauty of being restored by that sunshine and that fresh water. The way that God can heal you through nature, right? Through nature-based meditation, for example. Your strength is that you've been willing to do this. You've been willing to go slowly and methodically towards what you know is yours. Your birthright keeps coming up, which is a different version of love, a different version of joy, a different version of discernment that's not based on screwing someone over or tricking someone out of what's theirs so that you can get ahead, right? It's more about, I'm going to keep working no matter how long I have to be in this hermit mode until I come through the other side purified with this new sense of what love really is and what joy really is, right? It's very beautiful. Your shadow side might be getting you to, trying to convince you to keep this a secret. The King of Cups is somebody that is very connected to his heart. He's a king of the heart, right? Like but the King of Cups is not very demonstrative. He's not really an actor. The water element is a little bit more receptive, and he's a little bit more like, he may have all the feeling in the world, but he's not going to share it. That's kind of coming out of your shadow side a little bit. Like, I had all this feeling and desire to do this kind of thing forever, but I kept discouraging myself. Well, you're not a shaman. You're not a witch. You're not well, I am. I have those qualities within me. I do have an inner shaman. I'm not saying I'm a spiritual guru or anything, but I have those witchy sides of me that I can integrate and say, I'm allowed to have spiritual wisdom and I'm allowed to share it. Whether people around me understand that I want to leave my highest paying job I ever had in mental health to becoming a card reader and starting my own business. Like, it was crazy to most people around me and to me for a long time. So I was kind of in a King of Cups energy. Like, you may have all these gifts and want to share all this stuff with the world, but you're not going to because it's not real, for whatever reason, you've decided to keep it close. That's something your shadow might be doing right now, is saying, don't share it. It's too precious. Don't give it away. That's for you to discern whether to listen to or not, but that's a message coming from your shadow. In the known world, you want to shine. like the sun. You want to be this Queen of Wands. You want to be this creative fire, proud of your glory and what you do have to offer from your heart. Like, I watched Hearts in Atlantis last night again because it's a movie that kept circling through my mind that I thought I'll watch it again. And the girl in that show, or in that movie, the main character describes her a lot as having the heart of a lion. And that's what's here. That's what's here. Even though you may know that you have all this wise wisdom in your heart, your shadow might be saying, keep it close, keep it to yourself. Well, in the scene world, you're built to shine. You're built to be a Leo, or, be in Leo any energy, or fire energy, right? You're meant to show the world what you can create and what you can do. This is a really empowered feminine energy. And this is more of a cautious masculine energy. And what I'm sensing is that they're not at odds. They can be in harmony with one another. But where things are going is a period of rest, because this work has been exhausting for you, because this is very powerful, powerful work that's in play here. Judgment, that's not something that's easy. Like, oh yeah, I'm just going to go through several personal judgment days. It requires rest, because we're not gods, we're not angels, we're not etheric beings. We're in a 3D experience, and our bodies need rest around stuff like this. But this is the domino effect that's been playing out in your life, is being willing and courageous enough to walk this path alone if you have to finally really see your relationships in true, more accurate light, and to recognize where you're moving now and who is going to be moving alongside you and who is going to be taking a different path. It's not better or worse. It's not about good and bad. It's just about different. Just like my path that I took when I said, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be taken away from people. I had to learn some hard lessons, but it wasn't better or worse, because I learned lessons on that path, and I would have learned lessons on the other path. Either way is fine, right? It's not about good and bad. But regardless, where the energy is headed is it's okay to rest. You may be all fired up and want to keep going and pushing. I was torn this morning about even whether to do this reading, which seems so silly it's just a reading. I have the time, why not? But I was torn. I was like, do I want to give to myself? Do I want to give to others? Is doing a reading both? Like, I had to think that through, and I realized for me today, it is both. I can give of myself and receive just by doing what I love to do. So I'm no longer embarrassed or justifying, or, tarot's a part of my online business practice, where I also am identified as a clinician. I have to be careful. There are some laws about keeping those things separate, but Jungian therapists incorporate tarot into their work all the time. So it's a way for me to integrate my inner shaman or high priestess with what I'm already trained in, right? You can find those types of middle paths within yourself by embracing all parts of yourself. In the past, I would have said, yeah, I love to read cards, but who am I to think that I'm Marie Laveau or something, right? Like, and I don't. I'm not trying to emulate somebody else. I'm not trying to take other traditions' practices. I've created my own practices out of my own ancestral traditions, right? While respecting the traditions of something like Santeria, or even Pentecostal religion, right? Like, I don't go out there and speak in tongues, but I went to Pentecostal churches at points as a kid and watched people speak in tongues and felt afraid. I'm like, I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's fake or what. I don't always resonate with Pentecostal people, but they have their own journey towards God, whatever that is for them, right? So let's find out about this Magician card here in the facts position, because I kind of want to know, what should you understand about that Magician? Is that you and your manifestation creating this new world for yourself? Or is that, because I asked about, is there anything you should watch out for? You need rest, but otherwise I really don't see any warning cards here so far. Who's this Magician here? Is this you manifesting the new and coming into your power as a manifester and even possibly magician, right? Like a magus? So luck on the bottom of the deck, the 4-leaf clover, which can mean happy surprises, lucky breaks, abundance, right? Good things coming in. So that's on the bottom. What else about this magician here? Yeah, beautiful. This is you being able to create this new world for you with these stars. This is like heavenly guidance. You've aligned your practices with a higher spirit or a higher law or a higher governance that keeps you in a sort of in like a light version of this kind of work, right? That's connected to God in some way. This is you. You are in divine feminine energy. This is the main female card in the Lenormand. And you're grounding this in. You're stabilizing this in with this anchor card. So this heavenly guided work to be in your divine feminine energy and be okay to shine while integrating your masculine heart center within you, it's stabilizing your life in a really positive way. This is the way the domino effect is playing out for you. What are some positive, I'm going to pull a plant. Oh wait, I may not have that deck here. I haven't seen it in a while. Oh my goodness, my cards are falling out all over the place here. Is my plant deck even out here? There it is. What are some plant medicines that can maybe help you on this path or help build you up while you're in this period of rest? And even plants were recognized for their power in the Bible, right? Things like frankincense and myrrh were seen as sacred smoke to honor God, right? What are some plants that can help protect you while you rest and recover from some of this hard spiritual work that you've been doing? This love card recognizes the tree of life, so I'm already kind of picking up tree medicine. Taking in the medicine of trees, like maybe some pine, burning some pine resin can be really cleansing and purifying. That's coming through if you like pine. Pine's one of our oldest tree species. It's got very powerful medicine. I keep feeling pine. Pine is coming through a lot. It might be worth your while to burn some pine resin, honestly, and cleanse your aura or cleanse your energy with it. Help revitalize you after a period of rest. Aloe vera can help your skin, clearly. There might be other spirit advice around aloe vera. I see the stars here. It might be considered kind of a light energy with all these stars. It's very high water content. I don't have the book handy for this deck, so it's going to be my interpretation based on the art on the card. Wild Stream Orchid, very beautiful. So, oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. So let me gaze into this image here for a minute. I just love the artwork in this. It looks very protective, this wild stream orchid. There's like a layer of protection around it that's permeable, but again, it's like heavenly protection with these stars. This flowing water flowing out of this cup, which cup, it's an echo here of the Ace of Cups. So what I'm picking up is this wild stream orchid card and plant spirit can help you connect to your heart center. It's very water-based. There's a lot of water flowing out of this cup. There's also what looks to be like a dove, or maybe with this long tail, it makes me also think of the quetzal, the resplendent quetzal. I don't think this also could be a peacock here, or a bird relative of the peacock, like a pheasant or something. The resplendent quetzal is what's coming through and has meaning for me because I have exposure to that as a spiritual symbol from my background in my learning and in my travels. I majored in Spanish. I did a lot of study into the belief systems and that world in the Americas. And then the orchid itself. When you think about orchids, they're very delicate, but they're also, with the right climate and right conditions, they're beautiful, lush, giving of themselves. They give and give and give. They bloom and bloom and bloom. Their blooms last for quite a long time. I have an orchid in here that when it blooms, the blooms last for over a month. They're very delicate, beautiful, feminine flowers, and I feel that here with this water-based energy, this flowing heart center energy. They're giving plants. And then pine is very masculine, so pine could be another way to help not only integrate this feminine energy, but then also integrate masculine. And it's almost a reversal of these water and fire, right? Is pine and wild stream orchid. It's sort of like a yin yang happening there in this reading. And if you know anything about esotericism, you know that internal alchemy of your masculine and feminine, or anima animus energy, is very helpful for spiritual growth and can make you this kind of master magician, right? So I think that's everything. I think I'm just going to pull one more card now. I'll do a Colette Baron Reed card. What's a final message for you about the domino effect that's been happening in your life around this spiritual growth and about your relationship to love, either a higher love or an unconditional love for yourself and within your relationships? Pull the one here, and it's higher power. So beautiful. It's like you're really being loved and cherished and protected. I really feel that coming through. There's a lot of joy and pleasure, like between you and your God. There's a lot of mutuality, a lot of co-creative energy, a lot of harmonizing energy. And with this Ten of Swords, by being willing to fall to your knees, by being willing to trust God, is what's opened all of this up for you. By recognizing you're not the beginning and the end. You're not the Alpha and Omega. You're just a part of it, right? You're a part of the web. And if you open yourself up to what's greater than you, it harmonized all of this for you. And it revealed to you. And four is a really sacred number, right? It revealed to you. It's showing that. It's showing this higher power opening up this figure's third eye. It's so gorgeous. So I'm going to read her. I'm going to read the entire description because it could be in love, it could be in finance, it could be in all of the above, right? So I'm going to read the entire description for higher power card here. A big message coming through is that you've been willing to work with a higher power instead of your own ego, right? Conscious contact with a higher power, the presence of the divine, seeing source energy in all things, committing to a partnership with spirit. The oracle's message. This card reminds you that you are more than a person trying to get ahead and make things happen for yourself and others. God, what did I just say? You have an immortal soul and are gifted with a human life through which a higher power can express itself. At this time, like this dolphin, that's what it comes to mind. A higher power expresses itself often through dolphins, right? At this time, you need to be conscious of your connection to spirit and foster it through prayer and meditation. Ask, what is the highest good for all? How can I serve? Then get out of your own way and trust that there is a plan for your life more wondrous than you can ever know. You are always protected and divinely directed. And then for relationships, it's time to address how much effort you give to your relationship with your higher power, called God, Goddess, Spirit, or any other name that is sacred and holy. Recognize that your partnership with Spirit is your number one priority. The appearance of this card also indicates that there is a deep spiritual bond between you and another person who is essential to your growth and evolution. Tend to your spiritual connections and remain aware of your true nature. Sometimes your work just flows through you. Ideas come rushing in and inspiration bubbles up from a wellspring you didn't even know you could access. When you enter agreements, begin projects, and negotiate deals with Spirit as your partner, you will always succeed. Let your higher power lead. That's what you recognized, and it was hard for you, but you were willing to do it. You were willing to fall to your knees. Let your higher power lead. The synchronicities and initiative nudges you, and intuitive nudges you feel will help you see which way you are being pointed, giving you confidence to move forward in the right direction. Don't forget to give credit where it is due. Amen. Thank you, God. You wouldn't be a success without Spirit's guidance. Humility will serve you well when this symbol appears. So yeah, when you start getting all these rewards, that's a powerful reminder to stay humble. It's not just you generating it, it's you co-creating with Spirit. So remember your gratitude, right? Out of this Four of Cups and into the Ace of Cups. Humility will serve you well when this symbol appears. And then protection. It didn't come in the reverse, but this is just the other side of this, right? Now is the time to examine what you are giving energy and attention to in the back of your mind. If you're obsessing about being right, about old resentments or failed expectations, about money, or about any other people, places, or things, these will be the source from which you create. But you want Spirit to be your source. Take heart, for your higher power will never desert you and is always waiting for you to remember the sacred partnership you share. Turn away from other sources of power that don't serve your highest good. There is no greater source than Spirit. You can always surrender your troubles and trust that they will be taken care of. You are in good hands. So thank you, God. It's so comforting. When you're in that dark night of the soul, it is so easy to feel alone, and you recognized that you weren't alone, and you invited Spirit to help you, and it is helping you and has been helping you. It helped you reach this judgment day and transform into your newest version that's even more powerful and grounded than you were. So thank you so much for listening and for being here. And please come back for more if you like my work. And I'll see you soon.